What's up guys, Ruben Snow here, and today what I'm going to be talking about is the 4 personality types that will shape your mating and dating behavior. Now what are the 4 personality types? We have the experimenter, the architect, the kingpin, and the ambassador. And what do I mean by those? Well, I'm going to explain to you right now. Now note, before I even start this video, we are a mix of all 4 of them, but there's always one that's more dominant than all the others. And as I explain it and you watch this, you will kind of think and figure out, oh, this seems more like me. I feel like I am one with this one. So just listen in as I explain the 4 types for you now. The experimenter, which also can be considered the adventurer. This is the person that's always seeking new adventures. They're the kinds that are like the players, the playettes, the people who can't just stay in one place. They're usually very adventurous. They're usually the very social kind. They're usually the ones that are like the life of the party, the ones you see the minute you go into the party. They're the ones that just catch your eye immediately because they're usually very loud, they're usually very friendly, very social. They want to talk to everyone, they want to get to know everyone, and they have a lot of strength. So I just read the book Compelling People, and they have a great mix of strength and warmth. So they know how to connect to people, that's warmth, and they know how to be a little aggressive. They know to get what they want. They have what is considered like an active dopamine system. So all those, the moments they go in those social environments, it's just constant hits of dopamine. They love it. They gain their energy from it. These are the people that are always seeking new things. They're the most adventurous out of the group. They're the ones that will say, you know, if you're hiking and you're following the path and there's like a path that's not well written, you can see, you can walk through it, but it's not, it still has a lot of greenery and trees around, and you kind of gotta like move things to go through it. It's like you're not supposed to. They're the ones who will be like, let's go this way, it seems more fun. They're always adventurous, always down for those things. And not only that, but in dating and mating, they like to have multiple people. They like to experience a lot of new things constantly. So in a long-term situation, you will have to keep these people on their toes. They're, like I said, adventurous, so you have to always do adventurous things with them. Always bring them to a new environment, always surprise them with something new. Don't ever get boring. And that may sound like, wow, that's a lot of work, but if there's someone you love and they're freaking awesome, because these people, to me, are pretty awesome. You can kind of say, I'm that kind of person to an extent. But these are the people that you just have to keep going if you want to stick in the long term. But they are more likely to cheat, so you have to be pretty awesome to be with them. Now the architect, these are the builders. These are the ones that just, they like to have small groups of friends. They always build strong ties and strong relationships with people. They're not boring per se, but they're more warm than the adventurous experimenter type. They have more warmth, less strength. They have an active serotonin system, so they have more of that caring hormone. They just care for people. They don't want fights, you know. They like to build things. They like to be, when in a long-term relationship, these are like the go-tos, and they kind of complement the experimenter in that sense, because they know to bring the experimenter down, and experimenter can bring this architect up. But it's great to have these two together as a unit. But as an architect, you build, you're always analyzing, you're critical about things, you're always trying to figure something out, you like to have answers. They're the ones who are always seeking that. So they like a lot of stability, you can say. These are the people who get married quick, which is not bad, not a great thing to do, but these are the people that get married quick, and they have the longest relationship. So every time you talk to one of these, they never have like, rarely have flings. They're more of the type of being like, oh yeah, you know, I've had 2 boyfriends before, and both were like, my first one was 5 years long and the second one was 3 years long. They're always like long term, years. You never hear months. It's mostly always years. And that's the architect. Now the kingpin, or you can say the good side of it is the leader. These are people who have tons of testosterone. They are full of strength. They don't really get into their feelings, so their warmth level, their connection to people is not as strong. They're the type who have to control everything, who have to know everything. They're like, in a bad sense, they can be a dictator, or kind of like, think of in terms of movies, the directors, the people on top, the people who call the shots. They're the ones who are driven by control and power. It's not to say it's necessarily a bad thing. They do have little bits of warmth, but they're the type who work really hard, who are the type who be like, I'm not gonna have a girlfriend, I'm not gonna have a boyfriend because I have to climb the corporate ladder, I have to build this business. They're the ones who get to business. So think of it, I just finished watching Daredevil. One of the enemies of Daredevil, Kingpin, think of him, controls everything, controls the part of Hell's Kitchen, all the drug trade, he controls everything, he has to know everything, he's smart about it. In the show, I guess they showed like his warm side with his woman. If you've watched the show, I don't want to spoil anything. But you know, from what I've learned when I was a kid of Kingpin, he's just this brute. You know, he's full of strength. He doesn't have a care in the world. All he cares about is his business, his empire, and he just has to control everything. And that's who the Kingpin is. Now, on the flip side, there's the leader. The leaders are your managers, your supervisors, anything. Now, they can be considered a kingpin, which I believe is the bad part of this person who is the aggressor, who has to control everything, who has to be the leader, who's the one in the pack who always says like, oh, they're socially dominant. So in a conversation, they always control the conversation. They don't let you control the conversation. They're always pushing it into what they want. So in a sense, I strongly resonate with this one, because I can be like that at times, but it depends on the situation and if the situation calls for me to be like that. But remember, it's a mix of all. But one thing that makes the Kingpin super attractive is their confidence. So in the long-term game, they're the ones who control the relationship, not in a bad way, but they know where they bring the relationship to. They're the kind who know what they want. They don't have time to be dealing with BS. So even if they are dating multiple people, they kind of have this, they know what they want from these people. And this doesn't sound too great, but think of them as having control and being like, okay, this is where I'm at in the relationship. I know where I want to go. I have the answers. If something is not right, like if you get into an argument, they're down to, they will sink in and just in the trenches and just figure out how do we get to the answer to this and the solution. You got to think of them as that. So in terms of being the kingpin or the leader in this sense, there's always one in a relationship. One is always more dominant than the other person in the relationship, whether that's the girl, the boy, or if you have girls and girls, there's always one girl that's more dominant than the other girl. You can't have two dominant people, and it never works. You always have to have a great mix. Everything complements each other. So this is where the next personality type comes, the ambassador. The ambassadors tend to have tons of estrogen. I think of most of the women that I've dated are ambassadors. They're the ones who are really social, they have all this empathy, they feel a lot, they're the ones who want to bring everyone together, who wants friendship, all about peace. In a relationship, the great thing about them is that they're excellent listeners. So when you have an issue or you have a problem, you just need, or you're just having a bad day, you need someone to talk to, they're the ones to go to, because they have all that empathy and they have these strong feelings, and they can kind of like, you know, they actually listen. Like, you know, when you talk to somebody and they don't listen, like they're there but they're not listening, like their brain is somewhere else. I tend to do that sometimes. I ask my girlfriend about it. I tend to do that sometimes. Something that I constantly work on. This is probably one of my weakest of the 4 personality types. And if you're dominant in this, it's great, but you also have another side being the ambassador. You have the side where, you know, you don't like confrontation, you don't like arguments, so you do anything in the world to get, you avoid things. So like if someone wants to give you a hard truth about something, like you're dating someone and they tell you that they've been, how can I put it, they've been seeing other people. And they want to be completely honest with you to understand like this is where the relationship lies. You don't want to know. So you do everything in your power not to know the hard truth because you just want this to be perfect. You know? Not only that, but some people in this personality type tend to lie to avoid confrontation. So they tend to lie a lot in terms of when they act something. So even if it's something, a little small white lie, your significant other might get a little upset about something, you just throw in a little white lie. Like, oh, someone, you know, this is very basic, but like, so some issue I hear from a lot of couples that I think is utterly, like, it's the stupidest thing. It's the toilet paper issue. Whether that's you pull down or you pull up. Or wait, even better yet, where I hear a lot, which happened a lot at my old job. The seat. So it's like, do you put it down? Do you put it up? After a man is done, he should put it down for the females. But in turn, I believe that if you're a female, you should put it up when a man comes in. You know, it's 50-50. We all equal, right? So we should do that for each other. But that's a big issue. So in order to avoid that, say your boyfriend and you have that and you forget, you'll avoid it. You'll throw a little white lie like, oh, I didn't do it. Or you could be like, oh, this person came to the house, I think it was dumb. You'll blame it on someone else really fast. So that's kind of an issue that most people in these relationships, they're great people to be in a relationship with, always playing the long-term game. And kingpins and ambassadors kind of get along really well because they know the ambassador knows when to bring down the kingpin when he's being too dominant, too forceful, too controlling, and vice versa. The kingpin knows when the ambassador is being too soft, too passive, and like give him a little bit of that aggression. So I think this is a great summarized version and model of these 4 personality types. I do want to make a video product about this, something going really in detail. I can do a ton of more research in this theory of the personality types. But I'm curious to know, which one are you? You can answer in the comments below. You can answer me on social media, my Snapchat. That's a great one to answer. I'm always on Snapchat constantly. I kind of fell in love with it. So this is going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As I said, answer that question. Which one do you think is more dominant in your life? And if you are in a relationship right now, what you think is more dominant for your significant other? Let me know. And see you next week. As always, stay awesome.